I'm Veena, Pegado, and I'd like to talk about my brother Andrew, um, who just passed away just a month ago. We are 4 siblings. My eldest sister is Esme, myself, Annabelle, and Andrew being the youngest. My parents, my mom passed away recently in January, Levita, and my dad passed away quite a while ago, Kaitan Pegado. Andrew as a child was a cute little baby, born prematurely, loved, cared and adored by everyone in the family. If I had to write about Andrew, I could write volumes about him. I could write a book. My sister, Esme, she sent her message to me, and she remembers him as, she remembers her childhood memories with him. And she says, "Those golden days I remember when Andrew was a little baby, and I used to carry him as I was way older than him. Taking him in my arms was so overwhelming, and I was filled with joy each time I would carry him. Also, the most special thing and his favorite t-shirt was this bright yellow t-shirt which he would always wear whenever we had guests over. Every memory with Andrew was a beautiful and cherished one. All our childhood days were filled with cheer, laughter, joy and happiness." My earliest memories were that we would always go out together. As little as he was, our regular halt was just small. We would have our regular potato chop and tea. We sometimes would try out their new food as well. At the time it was lassi for us, I suppose. I remember hating it with pleasure because it tasted very sour, but we drank it just because we paid for it. Anna remembers Andrew at school. They were both in the same class, and that's in 4th standard, because Andrew had a double promotion in the 2nd standard, so they were both in the same class. On the sports day, she remembers that they both participated and they were partners for this needle and thread race, and they won it. I think they had practiced a day earlier. Yeah. I also remember ages ago, while I was at college and Andrew was at school, Sharada Mandir at the time, I took part in the carnival parade. And of course Andrew was with me because I just took him everywhere I went. So after the festival, we had to board the bus. It was the last bus home, and there was a massive crowd to get into the bus. So I was holding Andrew's hand tightly, but suddenly I felt I lost him, and I shouted out. I said, my brother, my brother." But since he was a child, people allowed him to board the bus. I was so very happy not to have lost him at the time. After school hours, we used to rush to grab the Tintin comics, Chandamama and all the other Mandrake he used to bring in, and we used to have a fight, myself, Anna, Andrew, just to actually have a read when we used to have our lunch together. All our life as he grew up, our fondness and love was a part of our journey. And as siblings, we spent our best days when we were kids. We enjoyed every day of our life just simply playing with friends in the village, enjoying the lovely meals cooked by Tilivit, and just being carefree. I must admit, sometimes when Dad was in Bombay, we used to take the liberty of and the freedom just to roam around the village, without any restrictions. Andrew traveled the world at a later stage in life. My children and my nieces, they had the best childhood with him. And they'll carry it forever. My son remembers him as his favorite uncle and cherishes the type of childhood he has had with Andrew. We can say even if we get another 30 years, we will not be able to venture the world Andrew has done in a few years. I felt that he could appreciate God's creation through these journeys. I would be Andrew's dancing partner at every wedding, and he would lead dances like Macarena at the weddings. He was always such an animator, besides being the smiling photographer professionally, for many events he covered. I think all of us regret the fact that we didn't appreciate his talent as much as the world did. Of course, he took part in lots of other events like IFA and Asian Paints. I don't even know how many, because there are a lot to name really, and that took him all over the world.
How did he get interested in photography?
I think it was his friends which actually motivated him to join photography. Although he handled as professional Yashica camera when he was at school. Yeah, so they were friends, and that's how he got into, through friends, he got into photography. But his passion was cooking. I think if he had not crossed lines with photography, he might have been a professional cook. Yeah, and still he just carried on doing cooking even now, because he used to cook bibinkas and bath and all of that really. But whatever he cooked, it was really, really tasty. I mean, whether it is kebab masala and anything really, he just had the passion for it. Yeah. So he was good at far too many things really. He was so very proud of all of us, his nieces and nephews especially, that he would do absolutely anything for them, even if it means keeping his work behind. He was a shopaholic. He would shop a lot because his house is now filled with so many things. But having said that, he shopped for his family more than himself. He didn't do much for himself really. He would do the major shopping for Anna's bridal shop, and with regards to that, his far-sightedness in any field led him to buy the best. He just knew the shopping places in Mumbai, Dubai, Singapore, UK, just name it, and he would know the places, exact places where he would shop for. He, in some part of his life, he assisted my dad with a huge construction we have had in, of El Pegado building. So this was during his college times, and he helped my dad with bringing material and all of everything. He invested a lot of his time into that. We all loved also going to Sandistev, and we have lots of cherished memories there. and we will forever cherish those memories. Every year we used to go to San Stay for the feast, the 26th, and we just loved Adrian's meals, Zumai, and the little during the times we have actually spent there at Zua when we had holidays. So we just loved it, just loved it. Yeah. Also, he loved his cousins very dearly: Matthew, Mark, Brian, Sienna, Miriam, and he enjoyed their successes as well. When he first came to UK, yeah, he had just about 5% kidney function, and then he was really very ill at the time. We were really scared even to have, actually, because the doctors advised us not to take him, because it wasn't possible, but we just challenged the fact, and then we just tried to take him there. And as soon as he did land, although we had lots of problems with the flights as well, we did land. He was taken to the medical centers, and the blood tests were done, and the next day itself he had an ambulance which actually took him to the hospital. So they tried to stabilize his oxygen levels at the time. Yeah. And then gradually he was a bit hesitant about dialysis. So gradually the doctors convinced him that he needs to go under dialysis. So he went under dialysis for more than a year. Yeah. And he would say, oh, he would smile cheerfully, when we used to have our band practices. Pun tollo, sekolah ko ita. He used to say, and then when the ambulance came to take him to the hospital, but he was cheerful and he was fine and he was doing very well. And then after some time, that means after a year or so, we were all fortunate, and he was as well, that he got a kidney transplant done. And yeah, he was doing very well after that, because it does take some time, actually. It takes some time for the kidney to actually function normally, but it did eventually. And yes, it is, and he only think he would sleep a bit, and then and I mean that's out of habit maybe, and otherwise he was fine. He was doing very well. Okay. Yeah, because after the transplant he couldn't come to Goa because of COVID, and although he had planned to come a while earlier then, because he hadn't seen Mum for nearly about 3 years, and Mum was waiting for him as well. But even he did finally come to Goa, and then he spent time with her. And when I say time, he spent nearly about 6 months really. He cooked for her, he looked after her, and then Mum passed away with him. And my mom passed away with him while he was in Goa. Although Annabelle came one day prior to her death, and then the following day I was here in Goa as well. It was really very shocking to Andrew and us, of course, but she was very, very close to him, and I think he really felt shattered really after her death. But he did not actually show it, and he even said to me, I'm not going to cry, I'm going to make sure that she's a nice death where I don't want to moan and shout and scream. Yeah, so that was Andrew, and he just loved Tilevita a lot. And to some extent we say it was a good thing that she did go earlier than Andrew, because she would never have been able to see him go first. So, but eventually, now having said that, they're both together in God's heavenly kingdom. Yeah. After mother's death, we just stayed for a few days here, tried to straighten out some things, do some house repairs and everything, and then we went back to UK, and everything was fine at the time, really, because Andrew was trying to get back and try to begin his routines in some way or the other. Although COVID was still prevalent at the time, but we thought that it was not as serious as it used to be. But yeah, but it was, and maybe we just took it for granted, as well as Andrew. And yeah, he was then
How
Yeah.
did he catch COVID?
I don't actually know how he did, in fact, because it could have been that he went out, because he did go out for 2 sessions, and then he lived with Anna, so there are people sometimes coming in, but not into in the place where Andrew used to be. So, but I just can't say. It could be just because he was always wearing his mask, and I don't know how it got him really. We just think it's just a very horrible accident that has happened to him, to the extent that he's gone. Yeah. So, but he was doing all right for the first 2 days, and then we had to rush him to the hospital in an ambulance because his oxygen levels were not really good. And I must say, the hospital authorities, from the time he was there, did a lot, did whatever was in their capacity to help Andrew in whatever way or form it be, a CPAP mask, a ventilator, and loads of machines. Even when having the ventilator, sometimes towards the end his organs started failing, but still they hadn't given up. They did a lot, but I think it was God's wish that he didn't want Andrew to suffer anymore, probably. And yeah, and then he called him. Yeah, we didn't expect in the least, although the doctors had said things like his life was in a balance and all that. But we did not in the least expect. We thought he would live for a long time with the ventilator on, because people actually can survive for 3.5 months. But I don't think we were lucky enough to have him for longer. But I think the heavens are richer with my Andrew. With regards to Andrew's repatriation, we have had a lot of problems actually, but I think God sent us angels in the form of our counselors in the UK. The funeral directors, they were so very engaging and helpful. Also, people in Delhi, in Goa, in Jagdish Bobby, and Durgadas Kamath, and of course Govind Jaiswal, the IAS officer from Delhi. if in case it was not for them, it would have been very, very difficult. They went out of their way to help us out, and as a result of which we could have Andrew's body repatriated, and that meant a lot to all of us and to Andrew. And I think because it was COVID related, now it's easy for people to know exactly what the guidelines are and how they can be used, because previously I don't think people were aware that this could be done. But yes, like I said to you, all of these angels helped us, to get Andrew here, and we thank them and God bless them. We will live with Andrew all our lives. From now on, believing that he is alive. In heaven, singing and praising Abba Father. I know he is an angel and he is with Jesus in his heavenly abode. So, as Christians, as Catholics, we believe that we are going to see him sometime soon.